I want to credit here. Anfield Edition posted this. They said negotiations have started between FSG and Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani over a takeover of Liverpool, with the 8th richest man in the world expressing strong interest. And they credit Upendra Rai, I believe is the gentleman's name, who put the story out there. Now, he was one of the names that was thrown around in our Discord group and by other Liverpool fans towards me, Chris, that they were hoping may come forward. And I have to say, I don't know a lot about this gentleman yet, but I would certainly be far more open to a non-state-backed takeover from a billionaire than a state-backed fund. So for me, himself, that gentleman, Steve Ballmer, I'd love him to be involved. I mean, he's basically me, but with money. So I wouldn't mind him involved either. But your take on this?
I want to preface this by saying that I haven't looked into anything in his past or any skeletons that he will have in his closet, because I'm sure he will do. But my initial reaction was very, very similar to yours. Realistically, however morally bankrupt football is, I don't think Liverpool Football Club should be owned by a state. I just think it feels wrong to have said so much about Man City, Newcastle, PSG, and then welcome it with open arms. It feels a bit hypocritical. However much it may benefit us long term, to have an actual entity who's not government tied, I think it's a lot more. I don't want to say right, but I'd rather say it's a lot less morally bankrupt than having a state-owned club. So yeah, I'm very positive, and the fact that he's worth 90 billion quid is quite good. I mean, what's Mansour worth? About 23 billion, right? So he absolutely outweighs what Man City can offer. And I think he could just reinvest not only in the playing staff, but the infrastructure of the club as well. So yeah, and also, are any club owned by an Indian billionaire?
I was thinking this. Wasn't there the guys who Blackburn at one point? I don't know what part of the world they were from. The Venkies, were they? I can't remember for the life of me if they were of Indian descent or not. But yeah, like you, I think I'd welcome an investment from a different part of the world. You know, we've got obviously Far East money involved in football, or we did have it involved in specifically Milan at one point. We've obviously got American ownership. We've got English money in there as well. So yeah, why not spread this? Let's take our billions from all around the world.
Yeah, exactly. And as Gandhi said there, he owns Mumbai Indians, and they're renowned in the cricketing world for pumping money into the IPL, you know, which is again one of the most profitable sporting entities in the world. There's a lot of Indian Liverpool fans. He probably sees a great market there.
Shout out to the Pune Supporters Club, who I often interact with and have done videos with as well. So yeah, it's a huge market for us as a club as well.
Absolutely. And well, has anyone else really tapped into that market yet properly? I'm not too sure. And if you get there's 1 billion people in India, if you get 5% of those Liverpool fans, that's a lot more profit for the club. And I'm sure there is plenty more there as well. So yeah, I really like the idea. Obviously, again, as I said, I haven't prefaced this by saying that I haven't digged into him yet. And that's something I definitely will do over the coming days, but I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I am of the mindset, probably like a lot of other people, that nobody becomes a billionaire without having stepped on a few people or done a few close to the line things, in my opinion. So yeah, I get you on that one. Again, we have to wait and see what happens here. I'm like you, I'm excited by it, but do you know what? For all the anti-FSG stuff I've spoken about, I do sincerely believe that they won't just sell us to anyone. I really, really do feel like they will want custodians of the football club to carry on what they've done and not just come in and be a sports wash thing. Because I think they genuinely hate the idea of nations backing clubs, because it's what's probably forcing them away from Liverpool.
Yeah, again, I discussed this at length with people in the pub, actually. Really, really strange conversations to have in the pub up in Liverpool, but it's got to be done. I'm just thinking, why are FSG selling now? I'm very intrigued, because the value of football clubs, even if we don't get in the Champions League, the value of Liverpool is astronomical. They haven't really tapped into their TV sales market that they did in America. They did some really amazing stuff with the Boston Red Sox with their TV sales records that they broke, which I thought what they would try and do in English football anyway is to try and get Liverpool's TV rights for themselves to sell rather than as a Premier League whole.
If we look back to Project Big Picture, Chris, I think John W. Henry was very disappointed because that was his real baby. The Project Big Picture didn't get off the ground. I think he had the backing of Rick Parry, who was the EFL chairman, I think, at the time, and that didn't come through for whatever reason. So I wonder if he just feels like maybe a European football club or an English football club is a little bit too hamstrung in what they can do with their bargaining rights and stuff like that, because you're talking as a collective when you negotiate there and not as a single entity. So the Premier League negotiates on behalf of the clubs and, of course, individual clubs have sponsors. But I did hear something interesting, and by here I mean read in the Athletic comment section. So if FSG took on an investment and didn't sell up completely, that there's two ways that they can do that with very differing outcomes. So what they could do is, let's just say, sell 25%, pluck that number out. If we're valued at 4 billion, 1 billion, 25%, sell it. They put the 25 billion into FSG's bank accounts and they go about life. But the other aspect, the other option is to issue new shares, which in turn would delete their ownership and sell this 25% stake for 1 billion. But that, interestingly, will go back into the football club's funds and would be used to buy players or do whatever. Now, people will say, hang on, why would they do that? That's just stupidity. I guess they'd be banking on their new partner bringing added value that will in turn increase the value of the asset in 1, 2, 3 years' time. And that's again where they get their payoff.
Yeah. Realistically, love it or hate it, they are stone cold, hard-nosed businessmen. They realistically don't have a beating heart for Liverpool Football Club. They have it for the profits of Liverpool Football Club. And anything they can do to maximize that will be done, and short-term investment will turn into long-term rewards for them. And that's what I think a lot of fans are frustrated with, is that if you invest in the side now, in the playing staff, then it will actually benefit them more in the future. Which I think is why a lot of fans do get frustrated with them, alongside, of course, their other shortcomings. But it's a really interesting time, especially with the World Cup coming up as well, to choose to sell. And I'm really intrigued to know why.
Yeah, it is. I think they just feel like they've done as much as they can. And also, I don't think it's a coincidence that like the likes of the Washington Commanders are up for sale. An NFL franchise, which is the crown jewel in American sports. If you can own an NFL team, I heard somebody once say that I think maybe Ari Golden Entourage, if I'm remembering correctly, said that that's almost the American way of knighting somebody, is to, let them buy a football team, an NFL team. And maybe they're going to look at that. Of course, they've got a partnership with LeBron, and I think there's a franchise coming up for the NBA maybe in Vegas down the line, which LeBron wants to be part of an ownership group as well, so maybe they're looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as well, as we spoke about earlier, I think US sports fans are more in tune with this franchise culture than we are, because we've been raised on football, which is all about promotion, relegation, earning. There's no elitist culture. Whereas realistically, as long as I've been watching or known about American sport, that it's always been that way, and it always will be that way. And it's not going to change, because that's how it is. And if FSG do invest in an American sport, fans will be more open to their model, I think.
Yeah, I think I have no idea if it'll be a partial sale or full sale, but if you're looking at what's happening, to me, it feels more like they're looking for a clean break and to sell up.